I want you to just take a second and picture the typical orthodontic patient.
Right, just kind of close your eyes and conjure up that image.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're like most people, you are almost certainly picturing a teenager.
Oh, without a doubt.
Probably someone in middle school or high school dealing with growth spurts, the awkward school photos, and of course, a mouth completely full of metal.
Yep, the classic brace face.
Right, because that is the cultural default we all just sort of share, right? Braces equal teenagers.
They do, yeah. But today, we are going to completely shatter that assumption.
We really have to, because the timeline we've all just kind of accepted is actually entirely backward.
It really is. I mean, if you are waiting until your child is 13 or 14 to start thinking about the structure of their face and jaw, you are arriving very late to a party that started years ago.
Which completely blew my mind when I started digging into the sources for today.
It's a huge perspective shift.
It really is. We are pulling from this incredibly illuminating session from a show called Smiles Ahead.
Right, the official audio series of Westbrook Family Dental.
Exactly. And they're this modern, family-friendly clinic located in Westbrook, Toowoomba, and they treat literally everyone, from newborns all the way up to seniors.
But in this particular material, they laser focus on one very specific demographic.
They do, and it flips everything we know about orthodontics totally on its head. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly why the quote-unquote magic number for a first orthodontic screening isn't 13.
Right.
It is 7.
It sounds totally counterintuitive.
Yeah.
7 years old, we're talking about a second grader here.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to help us understand why on earth we are suddenly scrutinizing second graders' teeth, I see you've set up a pretty amazing visual for us today.
I thought it would help kind of ground the conversation.
For those of you listening, I am looking at the backdrop right now, and it's just fascinating. It's this warm, inviting, very modern dental clinic setting, but superimposed over it are these intricate blueprint-style schematics of human jawbone development.
Yeah, it looks almost like architectural drawings, right?
Yeah.
But of the human skull.
Exactly like architectural drawings. It looks incredibly complex.
Well, I put that up because today's deep dive isn't really about teeth at all.
It's not.
Not fundamentally, no. It is fundamentally about architecture. It's about structural engineering.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we have to move past this very simple, purely cosmetic idea of just straightening teeth and enter the realm of orthopedic bone development.
So we're talking about the actual bones of the face.
Exactly. And to understand why age 7 is the absolute sweet spot for this, we have to look at a biological phase called mixed dentition.
Mixed dentition. I'm assuming that means exactly what it sounds like a mix of different types of teeth.
That is the core of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Think about a 7-year-old's mouth. It is basically chaotic in there.
Oh, completely chaotic.
Right. They have this very specific, unique combination of teeth. They still have a lot of their primary teeth, the baby teeth.
Right.
But they also have newly erupting permanent adult teeth.
Right, because that's when the tooth fairy is usually making a lot of visits.
Exactly. And specifically, right around age 7, the big front adult teeth are usually dropping in, and way in the back, the 6-year molars have made their appearance.
Okay, so it's a completely transitional mouth. It's half and half.
Half baby teeth, half adult teeth.
But I'm still sort of stuck on why that specific combination matters so much. Why do those front teeth and the 6-year molars give dentists the green light to suddenly start evaluating a kid's mouth?
Think of those specific adult teeth as the anchor points for a tent.
Okay, the anchor points.
Yeah, when the front adult teeth and those 6-year molars lock into place, they establish the foundation for everything else. They dictate the vertical height of the bite. And this is crucial. They allow a dentist to clearly evaluate the 3-dimensional growth of the child's jaw.
Oh, I see.
Right, they can finally see the front-to-back relationships and the side-to-side relationships of the jaw.
Because the anchors are finally set.
Exactly. And this is where the major perspective shift happens. When a dentist looks at a 7-year-old, the goal is absolutely not perfectly straight teeth.
Honestly, that is a huge relief to hear.
Why is that?
Because I've seen 7-year-olds smile. And those new adult teeth usually look like they were just, thrown in there from across the room.
Oh, absolutely.
They come in at all sorts of crazy angles. They look way too big for the kid's face. I mean, it's a total mess.
But they are supposed to look chaotic. The dentist isn't looking at the cosmetic alignment of the teeth at all at this stage.
Oh, what are they looking at?
They're looking past the teeth. They're evaluating the foundational growth of the jawbone itself.
The structural engineering part.
Right. They are hunting for early signs of structural architectural issues, things like underbites, overbites, crossbites, and severe crowding.
Okay, so major alignment problems with the jaw itself.
Exactly. And the reason they desperately want to see this at age 7 is that the child's jaw bones are still actively growing.
Meaning they're still soft.
They are highly malleable, yes.
So it's about catching the bone while it's still workable.
Precisely.
You know, as I was going through the Westbrook dental material, I kept trying to find a really good way to visualize this.
What did you come up with?
Well, it feels a bit like if you're building a house and you pour the concrete foundation, right?
Okay.
If you notice a massive dip on one side while the concrete is still wet, you don't panic. You just grab a trowel, push the wet concrete around, and smooth it out.
Right. It's an easy fix.
Exactly, because the material wants to move. It's adaptable.
That is a great way to look at it. You are manipulating the material while it's in a state that actually allows for manipulation.
Right, because if you walk away and you wait for that concrete to cure and harden into solid rock, and then you come back 5 years later and say, oh, the foundation is crooked, let's fix it.
Oh, then you have a major problem.
Yeah, you can't just use a trowel anymore. You need jackhammers. It becomes this massive, expensive demolition project.
And that is exactly what happens in orthodontics. The human jaw at age 7 is that wet concrete.
It's responsive.
Yes. It hasn't finished forming. But by the time that child is 13 or 14, which is the age we traditionally, culturally associate with orthodontics, that concrete has set.
The bones have hardened.
Exactly. The bones in the face have matured, they have fused together, and they have hardened into solid adult bone.
Which brings up a question that I'm sure is making a lot of parents listening right now very nervous.
I can probably guess what it is.
Yeah, I mean, if the concrete is wet and you spot a structural issue in a second grader, are we really putting a 7-year-old into a full set of metal brackets and wires?
Right.
Because it sounds incredibly intense for a little kid to deal with.
It's the most natural fear a parent could have. No one wants to subject a young child to unnecessary discomfort.
Right, you want them to just be kids.
Exactly.
Mm.
And the Westbrook family dental team addresses this anxiety head-on in their material. The answer is usually no.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, we are not talking about putting a second grader into full upper and lower traditional braces. This age 7 intervention introduces a totally different concept.
And what is that?
It's called Phase 1 orthodontics.
Right, phase 1. The sources also called this interceptive orthodontics, which feels like a very deliberate choice of words.
It is entirely deliberate. Think about what it actually means to intercept something.
You're stopping it before it gets worse.
Exactly. You are altering the trajectory of a problem before it reaches its final destination.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because a young child's jaw bones haven't fused and hardened yet, dentists don't have to use massive force to move fully rooted adult teeth through solid bone.
Like they do with teenagers.
Right. Instead, they use very specific, gentle tools to simply guide the ongoing growth of the bone itself.
So you aren't fighting the body. You are kind of hijacking the body's natural growth spurt and just steering it in a better direction.
That is a very accurate way to phrase it. You are guiding the bone to create a better, wider, more accommodating environment.
For the rest of the adult teeth that haven't even arrived yet.
Exactly. If a child's jaw is growing too narrow, or if the upper and lower jaws aren't aligning properly, you intercept that incorrect growth pattern while the body is still actively building the bone.
Okay, but mechanically speaking, how on earth do you actually do that?
It's pretty clever.
I bet. Because if we aren't using traditional braces, the brackets and the rubber bands we all remember from high school, how exactly do you steer wet concrete?
Well, there are a couple of ways.
The sources mentioned 2 primary tools for this phase 1 interceptive stage, and I really want to dig into how they actually work because the biology here is just wild.
The biology is fascinating. The 2 main interventions are palatal expanders and space maintainers.
Let's start with the palatal expander because this one really highlights how different a child's anatomy is from an adult's.
It really does.
Yeah.
To understand how an expander works, you have to know a pretty surprising anatomical fact about the human skull.
Okay, lay it on me.
When you look at a young child's upper jaw, like the roof of their mouth, it appears to be one solid, continuous piece of bone.
Right, the hard palate.
Exactly. But it isn't one solid piece. The upper jaw is actually made of 2 entirely separate halves.
Wait, really? 2 halves?
Yeah, they meet right in the middle of the roof of the mouth. It's called the mid-palatal suture.
So there is literally a seam running right down the center of a child's skull.
Yes. And evolutionarily, this makes complete sense.
I guess because babies need flexible skulls to pass through the birth canal.
Precisely. And then the brain and the face need room to grow incredibly rapidly during childhood.
Wow, okay.
So in a 7-year-old child, those two halves of the upper jaw have not fused together into solid bone yet.
They're still separate.
Right. They're joined only by flexible cartilage.
That is just wild to think about. Your upper jaw is literally in two pieces, just waiting to be glued together.
And this is the exact window of opportunity that the palatal expander takes advantage of.
How so?
Well, if a dentist sees that a child's upper jaw is growing too narrow, meaning there physically will not be enough square footage for the larger adult teeth to drop in without severely overlapping,
Right.
they can fit a small, custom-made device to the roof of the mouth. This expander applies a very gentle, continuous outward pressure against the inside of the molars.
And because that center seam hasn't turned to solid bone yet, the jaw just gives way.
It does. The pressure is so gentle, but because the connective tissue is just cartilage, those two halves of the jaw basically painlessly slide apart.
Wait, so you are actually creating a microscopic gap in the roof of the mouth.
You are.
But what happens to the empty space? Does it just stay there?
This is where the body's natural mechanics take over, and it is amazing.
Yeah, it happens.
The body senses the tension in that suture. It thinks, oh, there is space here that needs to be stabilized, so it sends in bone-building cells called osteoblasts.
Okay.
These cells rush into that microscopic gap and start laying down brand new calcium, naturally filling the space with new bone.
So it's growing into the gap.
Exactly. It's a biological process called distraction osteogenesis. You are literally tricking the body into growing a wider jawbone.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm visualizing this correctly because the mechanics here are just so elegant.
It's a great concept to visualize.
Let's imagine the upper jaw is like a wooden dining room table.
Okay.
Like a heavy, solid wood table, but it's one of those tables that splits down the middle.
I like this analogy.
Right. So if you have a dinner party and you realize you have 8 guests coming, but your table only seats 6, you don't try to just squish all the plates on top of each other.
Yeah, that would be the equivalent of severe dental crowding, a total mess.
Exactly. Instead, you unlatch the table, you pull the two halves apart, and you drop an extra wooden leaf right into the center.
Yes. The palatal expander is essentially pulling the two halves of the dining room table apart.
And the body's own bone cells act as the extra leaf.
You got it. They drop in to permanently lock that new, wider space into place.
That is a phenomenal way to picture it. You are dropping a biological leaf into the center of the jaw.
It is. And here is the absolute key to all of this.
Yeah.
This only works because you intervened while the table was still unlatched.
Oh, right, because the concrete is still wet.
Exactly.
Mm.
If you wait until that child is 13 or 14, that mid-palatal suture finally fuses into solid bone, the cartilage is gone.
The table is permanently glued shut.
Perfectly said. At that point, you can't just gently expand the jaw by taking advantage of cartilage. You are dealing with solid rock.
Which totally explains why age 7 is such a critical window.
It is make or break for this kind of easy expansion.
So that handles the width of the jaw, making sure the table is wide enough.
Right.
But what about the actual placement of the teeth in the row? Because the Westbrook dental sources mentioned a completely different problem that happens during this mixed dentition phase.
They did, yeah.
And it involves baby teeth falling out too soon.
Yes. This brings us to the second major tool of phase 1, which is the space maintainers.
This maintainer.
Oh. This addresses premature tooth loss. And we really have to correct a major misconception here because most of us tend to think of baby teeth as just disposable.
Totally. I mean, a kid gets a wiggly tooth that falls out, the tooth fairy leaves a couple of bucks under the pillow, and we literally never think about it again.
Right, we treat them like starter teeth.
Exactly.
But biologically, baby teeth have a highly critical job. They act as natural placeholders in the jaw architecture.
Placeholders for the adult teeth.
Yes. They hold the precise amount of physical space open for the specific adult tooth that is developing underneath it in the bone.
Okay, that makes sense.
But kids are kids. They don't always lose teeth on the perfect biological schedule.
Right, they take a bad spill off a scooter and knock a tooth out.
Exactly. Or maybe there's early decay, and a dentist has to extract a baby tooth to stop an infection.
So now you have a baby tooth gone, say, 2 years before the adult tooth is actually ready to erupt and take its place?
Yes, and that is a major issue.
Why is that a problem, though? Doesn't the space just stay there?
No, because nature abhors a vacuum, and teeth are always on the move.
Really? Always.
Always. There is a phenomenon in the mouth called resial drift.
Visual drift?
Yeah. Every time you chew, bite, or swallow, the mechanical forces in your mouth naturally push your teeth forward toward the front of your mouth.
Wow, I had no idea.
So if a baby tooth is lost early and there is an empty gap, the neighboring teeth won't just sit still.
They move.
Driven by the forces of chewing, they will slowly start to tilt and drift forward into that empty space, leaning over and basically collapsing the gap.
Oh, I see. So the surrounding teeth essentially cave in on the empty spot.
Precisely. And when that adult tooth finally finishes developing in the jaw a year or two later and tries to push its way out,
It has nowhere to go.
right, its pathway is entirely blocked by the leaning teeth above it.
That sounds painful.
It is. It either gets trapped permanently in the bone, which is called an impacted tooth, or it's forced to erupt completely out of alignment, like sticking out sideways from the gums.
The Westbrook materials used a really vivid phrase for this. They called it a traffic jam of teeth later on.
It's the perfect description. If one car stops in the middle of the intersection, the whole grid locks up.
So how does a space maintainer actually stop this traffic jam?
It is remarkably simple, honestly. A space maintainer is just a small, custom-made physical barricade.
Like a little fence?
Sort of. Usually it's a little metal band that is gently glued around the tooth next to the gap with a small wire loop that bridges across the empty space and rests against the tooth on the other side.
Oh, it's like a stiff arm holding the neighboring teeth back.
Yes, it just sits there, neutralizing that mesial drift, keeping the neighboring teeth from tilting inward.
It literally holds the parking spot open until the adult tooth arrives to claim it.
That's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
And once the adult tooth starts poking through the gums, the dentist just pops the little wire maintainer off, and the tooth drops perfectly into its designated spot.
It is a wildly simple device, but it prevents an incredibly complex, painful orthodontic nightmare from happening down the road.
It's preventative maintenance at its finest.
Okay, so we've mapped out the biology of this mixed dentition phase, and we know how these interceptive tools, the expanders and the maintainers, work with the wet concrete of the jaw.
Right.
But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's talk about the reality for a family.
Sure.
Because I can easily imagine a parent listening to this and thinking, okay, that's all very clever biology, but it sounds like extra appointments.
It does.
It sounds like extra money. It sounds like stressing out my second grader.
All very valid concerns.
Right. So they might be asking, why shouldn't I just wait? Why can't I just let them be a kid, wait until they are 13, and let the teenager braces sort everything out at once?
It's the most important question a parent can ask, and we really need to linger on the answer because it's the ultimate so what of this entire topic.
So what is the actual tangible cost of waiting?
The true cost of waiting is extractions.
Extractions, as in permanently pulling adult teeth out of a teenager's head.
Yes. Let's go back to your dining room table analogy for a second.
Okay, the glued shut table.
Exactly. If you wait until a teenager's jaw has stopped growing, their bones have hardened, the mid-palatal suture has fused.
The concrete is dry.
Right. You cannot easily widen the jaw anymore. So if that teenager has severe crowding, meaning their genetic jaw size only has room for 10 teeth, but 12 large adult teeth are trying to squeeze in, the orthodontist is faced with an absolute unbending mathematical problem.
Because there is literally no physical space.
There is no space.
And because you can't make the table any bigger, you have to kick some guests out of the party.
That is the harsh reality. The only way an orthodontist can make room to straighten the remaining teeth is by permanently pulling perfectly healthy adult teeth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Usually they have to extract the premolars.
Think about the psychological reality of that for a second. No parent wants to see their kid go through the trauma of having healthy, permanent adult teeth gripped with pliers and pulled out of their skull just to make room to straighten the rest.
That's terrible.
That is an incredibly aggressive, painful, and an entirely irreversible procedure.
It is. And it's what makes Phase 1 orthodontics so incredibly valuable. By intervening at age 7, we preserve natural teeth naturally.
You just make the room while the body is willing to cooperate.
We create the room while the body is pliable. We avoid the extractions entirely.
It's the ultimate example of preventative maintenance versus catastrophic repair.
Exactly.
But does doing Phase 1 mean a kid is just stuck in orthodontic treatment for their entire childhood? Because that sounds exhausting.
Surprisingly, the reality is the exact opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Phase 1 is a brief, targeted intervention. It usually lasts less than a year,
Just a year.
around